Good morning to you, our friends from the media. As always, we are grateful to you for responding to this invitation at such short notice. The NDC's journey to rescue the soul of our nation and reset Ghana for jobs, prosperity, and accountability is almost at its concluding stages. After several months of campaigning, during which we have crisscrossed and traversed all the 47 constituencies, over the past 5 days, the next President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and the NDC have embarked on a hugely successful tour of every nook and cranny of the Ashanti region with our message of hope. Everywhere we have been, the reception has been overwhelming. The welcoming disposition of the chiefs, the pure and unadulterated love of the people, the energy of the NDC's rank and file leads us to one irresistible conclusion: change is here. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, fellow countrymen and women, the NDC can feel, hear, and smell the yearn and clamor for change from the people of Ghana. This change will bring back President Mahama and the NDC to restore leadership and service of integrity and honor to the presidency. This change will restore hope and bring much needed relief to suffering Ghanaians and businesses. Above all, this change will bring an end to 8 years of impunity, corruption, cronyism, nepotism, and arrogance of power. We in the NDC in the Ashanti region are not oblivious of the crucial task that lies ahead of us comes Saturday, 7 December. It is a duty call and a task we have been preparing for, fully cognizant of the cunning nature of our opponent, their notoriety for bending the rules, and the penchant for cutting corners when vigilance go to sleep. The NDC in the Ashanti region is prepared and ready to deliver nothing but victory come Saturday. To our teaming supporters and rank and file sympathizers and all Ghanaians who will be voting for change, we wish to assure you that we are ready. We will make your vote count. Your faith in the NDC will lead to victory and Ghana will be rescued. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, Ashanti region has often been at the center of various electoral infractions, with our cunning opponents being the key architects of these infractions. All too often, election officials at the polling station, mainly presiding officers, particularly in the Ashanti region, whether by deliberate design or out of sheer ignorance, flout the electoral laws from which they derive their legitimacy to function, much to the disadvantage of the NDC. The purpose of this press conference, now we get to the crux of the matter. The purpose of this press conference is therefore to highlight some key regulations in CI 127, which is the governing law of public elections, of which the 7th December election is no exception. For the avoidance of doubt, these are some of the issues that observers as well as the general public, including you, the media, must pay attention to at the various polling stations in the Ashanti region. One is the confirmation, the first task that every stakeholder in our election at the polling station must pay attention to, is the confirmation of serial numbers of the two biometric voter devices, the validation stamp, the seal fixed on the ballot box containing the electoral materials. All key stakeholders, including party agents, observers, the media, the general public, must ensure and insist that BVD1 and BVD2 read 0 before voting. I hope you get the point I put across. The first task that every election observer must pay attention to is the confirmation that the serial number on the BVD, on the seal, and on the stamp is that of the polling station in which is the polling station for which they have been designated. The NDC observed with grave concern that during the special voting exercise held a few days ago, there were several reported instances in the Ashanti region where returning officers did not allow NDC agents to inspect the serial numbers of the validation stamp in flagrant violation of CI 91. Like I said, the CI 91, the CI 127, which is the governing law, required that the seal on the stamp must be recorded by the various polling stations. It is only through that exercise that foreign material that has been inserted in the ballot box can be identified. So if any EC prevents an agent from recording the serial number, indirectly, he is giving indication that he has some intentions, either by himself or in collusion with others, to stuff the ballot box with foreign materials or fake ballot papers. And from friends from the media, we wish to serve a caution to all election officials and officers of the Electoral Commission that such unilateral decisions to suspend the laws that govern the election will no longer be countenanced by the National Democratic Congress on December 7th. We expect officials of the Electoral Commission to do the right thing, and we equally expect all agents to insist on the right thing being done. The second issue, which is one of the most important, regulation, we are not there yet, don't worry. Regulation 21, sub-regulation 4 of the CI 127 states that a presiding officer shall give polling agent the necessary access to enable him or her to observe election proceedings at the polling station for the purposes of detecting impersonation, multiple voting, and certifying that the poll was conducted in accordance with law. For the avoidance of doubt, this is the governing law of the 2024 elections. That is Public Election Regulations 2020 CI 127. For the avoidance of doubt, I will read sub-regulation 21 so that we are all clear on the functions of a polling agent. So, Regulation 21. A candidate for parliamentary election may appoint one polling agent to attend at each polling station in the constituency for which the candidate is seeking election. A candidate for presidential election may appoint one polling agent in every polling station nationwide. Here is the most important point I want you to make note. The next two paragraphs. An appointment under sub-regulation 1 and 2 is for the purpose of detecting impersonation, multiple voting, and certifying that the poll was conducted in accordance with law and regulations governing the conduct. A presiding officer shall give a polling agent the necessary access to enable the polling agent observe election proceedings at the polling station. This is the point we are making. All too often in Ashanti region, you will see presiding officers, whether deliberately or out of ignorance, directing agents to sit far away from where voters are being verified. Regulation 21, sub-regulation 4 say a presiding officer shall give a polling agent necessary access in order to check impersonation, multiple voting, and certify that whatever happens is in accordance with regulation. So whilst we advise our agents and other stakeholders not to be unnecessarily disruptive, they must be positioned in such a way that whenever a person comes to a polling station, they can identify that his details is in the voters register and his image is in the voters register. That is the first point towards ensuring a credible election. This has become important because in the just ended special voting exercise, an immigration officer who went to the station to vote was told that somebody has voted on his behalf. Can you believe this? The special voting. TV3 reported it. Can you project it? Special voting. Immigration officer alarmed by someone using his identity to vote. So when we said, scroll down. Go, No. Please do it systematically so that it happened at Ablekuma Central. An immigration officer went to vote and he was told that somebody has voted on his behalf. That is the impersonation we talk about. So the first thing everybody going to the polling station must pay attention to is the voters register and the people coming to vote. And do you know why these things are possible? Because most of the people recruited as presiding officers are hardcore, rabid MPP fanatics who are prepared to bend the rules in order to give MPP an undeserved advantage. We are going to show you one example. During the Kumawu by-election, there was this boy, or there was this guy who was the special aide to the MPP parliamentary candidate and was going around distributing items for people to vote for the MPP. Can you please show us that video? No, not this one. The video. Please take note of the face of the guy. There is a video of this guy going out there campaigning for the MPP. But in the Joso by-election, he was made the presiding officer. I just want you to see the video where the guy was going around campaigning only for him to be appointed as a presiding officer. The presiding officer is the most powerful person in the polling station on voting day, such that he can bend the rules in favor of anybody at all. So if you have such characters masquerading as presiding officers, they will do everything within their power to bend the rules in favor of the MPP. So the point we are putting across is that no presiding officer has the power to tell any polling agent to go and sit far away from where the action is, such that he will not be able to ascertain what is going on. And one particular area that every polling agent must pay attention to is the voters register, because we have reports that one of the rigging strategy of the MPP is to allow people to come and vote on behalf of people, dead people or people who have traveled. And the only way we can check that is to ensure that we are as close as possible to the voters register, so that whoever comes, we will determine whether his name first and foremost is in the register before we proceed. Having said that, I will proceed to the next issue, which is also of utmost importance. You know, the law requires that polling booths must be positioned in such a way that the secrecy of ballot will not be violated, and not so in an obscure location to make the insertion of smuggled materials difficult. This is what the law says. You know, every vote is supposed to be cast in secret. So the law requires the Electoral Commission to position the ballot box in such a way that the secrecy of ballot will not be violated. Nobody will be able to have an idea. Good. This is the video. You see, that is the guy holding the cloth. You see?
The short one.
No, the guy, the one on the other side wearing jeans. Look at the face. I wish we could get, that is him, campaigning for Ernest Yao Enin. You see the same guy as a presiding officer. You see? Go back. That is the guy. So this guy, if you have people of this caliber at the polling station, they will do everything to favor the MPP. So we urge our agents not to swallow whatever they are told by the presiding officers, hook, line, and sinker. They must go by the dictate of CI 91. And it says an agent must be given necessary access. That is CI Regulation 21, Sub-Regulation 4 of CI 127. Good. Now we move to the third issue, which is about secrecy of ballot. The ballot booth or the polling booth is supposed to be positioned in such a way that nobody will get a gist of where a voter is voting. And at the same time, not placed in an obscure location such that somebody can bring in foreign materials into the ballot box. Oftentimes, the strategy adopted by the MPP is to position the ballot and get people standing behind the polling booth and get people standing behind the polling booth so that people who don't want their electoral choices to be made will either feel intimidated to vote for the MPP or not come to vote at all. It has happened this morning at Nsawama Duajiri. Let's show that video. There's Nsawama Duajiri where the member of parliament has gone to sit right behind the polling booth. Where is that video? You see? No, show the, let's have the first picture. Project a bigger version. The picture first. You see, that is the member of parliament. No, let the picture come. That is the member of parliament seated. The polling booth is situated somewhere. Said that if any security officer comes to vote, the member of parliament has a way of knowing where he is voting. These are security officers who ordinarily wouldn't want their electoral choices to be known. But we had the MP in a special voting seated right behind a ballot box. That is what resulted in the scuffle, you see? So it took members of the general public to drive him away. But in the Ashanti region, some presiding officers deliberately do that. And when you raise issues, they will tell you that they are in charge. Therefore, the media, the general public, and our agents are encouraged to resist any such move and ensure that the ballot box is placed in such a location that people's electoral choices cannot be seen by other, or people cannot be intimidated into voting for political parties that ordinarily they wouldn't want to vote. The fourth issue, which is one of the most important, is that whatever we are saying, we are backing it with the CI, because the CI is the governing law of our public election. You see, Regulation 32 of CI 127 states that all voters must be biometrically verified, and that those who are unable to do so must go through manual verification. The fourth issue, Regulation 32 of CI 127 states that all voters must be verified biometrically, and those who are not unable to do so must not go through manual verification until the polling agent present are duly informed and verification forms completed. Friends from the media, this regulation is particularly important because it is supposed to serve as a check on electoral officials who issue multiple ballots to voters and may want to fill a manual verification form to cover up their shady deals. Once again, we call on NDC agents to pay special attention to manual verification process, since it can be subjected to abuse by unscrupulous and devious EC officials. This is the point we are seeking to drum home. Generally, everybody must be verified biometrically before the person can vote. But there are instances where, due to the failures of technology, one cannot be biometrically verified. The law states that immediately a person cannot be biometrically verified, all the agents present must be notified, and a verification form filled, and the person allowed to vote. Oftentimes, presiding officers will not inform agents about manual verification, because they issue double and triple ballots to people and fill manual verification forms to cover up. Please, do you get the point? So the point we are drumming home is that anytime there is a need for a voter whose name is in the voters register to be manually verified, the consent of agents must first and foremost be sought, and a verification form filled. And any presiding officer who do not apply this rule will have us to contend with, because the CI made provision for biased and political presiding officers to be changed. So if there is any presiding officer who is unwilling to apply the rules, an objection will be raised and it will be changed there and then. We have taken the pain to invite the media and discuss all these issues because we want to carry the public along. Oftentimes, people think the only stakeholders in our electoral process is the EC and the political parties. The public must be carried along so that when you go to a polling station and there is an issue, you would be able to relate to it as the law stipulates. The other issue that requires urgent attention is the issue of assistance in voting. You know, Regulation 34 of CI 127 states that, please, pay attention to this. Don't play yet. Just wait. The presiding officer shall, on request, permit a voter who is visually impaired, physically challenged, to be assisted by a person of his choice. A person of his choice underlined. A person of his choice of that voter to vote in a manner different from voting procedures specified in the regulation. The above provision is worth emphasizing because from our experience with elections in the Ashanti region over the years, there have been instances where election officers have arrogated to themselves the power to vote for visually impaired voters and ended up voting for a candidate different from the choice of the voter. It happened at Kumawu Bodomase. So please watch this video, the Kumawu Bodomase video. You see? Hold on. You see? Nowhere in the CI is it stated that election officials are supposed to assist visually impaired or physically challenged people into voting. Regulation 34 states that if a person is visually challenged or physically challenged, he must choose a person to vote on his behalf. It is not the election officer who is supposed to vote on behalf of the person. Regulation 34 states that anybody who has a problem voting must choose the person to vote for him. So in this case, the old lady brought a person from home, but the EC official, being an MPP person or having an ulterior motive, asked the person who obviously does not know the law to step aside for him to go and vote for the person. The person wanted to vote for 2 and he voted for 1. So our agents and all of you going to the polling station must know the law and insist that the right things are done. Anybody at all, whether a young man or an old lady, can seek assistance in voting. You can appoint anybody of your choosing to vote on your behalf. This is one point we need to drum home, because oftentimes presiding officers in Ashanti region do those things to favor the New Patriotic Party. Also, let's go on. Also, regulation, we have taken the pains to read the CI and we are pointing the necessary provisions so that you know whatever we are saying is not just an opinion, but the true statement of the law. Regulation 39, sub-regulation 1C of CI 127 states that agents and the general public must insist that a copy of the results is pasted at the polling station as required by law. The import of this is to ensure that everybody who comes to a polling station for counting will have a copy of the certified results of the polling station. So once it is pasted, people can take it, a snapshot of it, to serve as evidence in case that the real results are changed. So agents as well as the media must ensure that pink sheets are fixed or are posted at the polling station for the public to be carried along in the electoral process. Ladies and gentlemen, we now turn our attention to one of the most important observations as far as the conduct of some voters is concerned. Experience has taught us that all NDC agents as well as the general public must be on the lookout for voters who come to the polling station wearing long sleeves or any suspicious outfits. Evidence abound from past elections where some culprits were arrested that voters in collusion with some political parties and election officials hid already thumb-printed ballot boxes under their sleeves, which they eventually used to stuff the ballot. Ladies and gentlemen, this thing happened in the 2020 election in the Joso constituency and the Asawase constituency, where some people wearing long sleeves had some fake ballots under their sleeves. But for the vigilance of the people around, they would have stabbed the ballot. So we are urging all electoral stakeholders to look out for people who come to the polling station dressed in a very suspicious apparel, since they may have some stabbed ballots under their sleeve. And we are also aware that the recent comedy of errors by the Electoral Commission, where ballot papers printed are declared invalid, is deliberate. It is intended to compromise the security of the system so that the MPP can have access to fake ballot box for purposes of ballot stuffing. And we are aware that most of these illegal ballots have found their way into the Ashanti region and will be transported in bullion vans and ambulances so that people are not suspicious. We have our surveillance and radar fixed on some of these phenomena. And anybody who is seen having faked some of these illegal ballot papers in his custody will have us to contend with. Fellow countrymen and women, the good news is that the NDC has put in place a superior counter-rigging machinery to counter all these potential electoral fraud in order to ensure that the verdict of the people is not stolen. Our eyes and ears are on the ground, and we are monitoring every single move of some officials of the Electoral Commission and their collaborators. We call on all our teaming supporters in the Ashanti region, sympathizers, and all Ghanaians who yearn for change to come out in their numbers and vote massively for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and all NDC parliamentary candidates in all the 47 constituencies. At this juncture, I would want to talk about some very unfortunate happenings in the Ashanti region during the special voting. In some constituencies, we realized that some of the indelible ink used by the EC are easily cleanable. The essence or the purpose, the object of an indelible ink is to have an already voted individual marked such that he cannot go to another polling station to vote. So using an indelible ink that is cleanable is creating the necessary environment for multiple voting and impersonation. We raised this issue and the EC has given us the firm indication, the regional EC, Mr. Oseinsia, has given us the indication that all those cleanable, indelible inks have been replaced. We sincerely hope we sincerely hope whatever assurances he has given us is true. But on D-Day, we will not countenance the use of any indelible ink that is easily cleanable. Also, in constituencies like the Offenso North constituency, where only one polling station was voting, ballot materials arrived late, or electoral materials arrived very late. Even for the Akumadan, which is the district capital. How much more the hinterlands that will be voting on December 7th. So we urge the Electoral Commission not to deliberately delay the dispatch of electoral materials to the NDC stronghold, ostensibly to get people frustrated so that they don't vote at all. The other issue was with the returning officer of Achumang-Wobieja South, Mr. Kankam, who strangely enough did not allow NDC agent to fill the Form C. You know, the Form C1 is the ballot statistics. When voting ends, the returning officer or the presiding officer is supposed to account for the ballot that was issued, those that were used, and record same on the pink sheet so that the content of the ballot cannot be swapped with different numbers. Interestingly enough, the presiding officer for the returning officer for Achumang-Wobieja South did not allow this to happen. We have raised an issue. He has come to apologize, but we expect the Electoral Commission to, as a matter of urgency, relieve him of all his official responsibilities on December 7th. Because a returning officer is supposed to know the basics of our electoral laws. So for a returning officer not to know that ballot statistics or ballot as counting are supposed to be done and the pink sheet failed is very strange. We believe it is deliberate. We believe that was done to give our opponents some advantage, and we are calling on the Electoral Commission to take a serious view. The other issue that we observed during the special voting was the suspicious behavior of the district director of the Electoral Commission at Kwadaso. The EC dispatched the DVDs from Accra with the firm instruction that all these materials are supposed to be kept at the armory of the police station. So in the instance of Kwadaso, it was supposed to be kept either at the Sofolai police station or the Patase police depot. Strangely enough, the district officer or the district EC boss for Kwadaso took the biometric devices home for 3 hours and later called us to come so that we can all take the BVDs to the police station. We have lodged a complaint at the Sofulai police station as well as the district EC office that we believe those ballots, those BVDs have been tampered with, and we expect the BVD to be re-examined to ensure that no foreign content has been imposed thereon. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we call on all our teaming supporters in the Ashanti region, sympathizers and all Ghanaians who yearn for change to come out in their numbers and vote massively for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and all NDC parliamentary candidates in the 47 constituencies. We assure you that we are in this battle together. We shall stand firmly for you and by you. We shall continue to collaborate with the state security agencies to guarantee the safety of every Ghanaian before, during, and after the elections. Every single voter will be safe. Every single vote will be counted and accounted for, and the true will of the people shall prevail on December 7th. The NDC in the Ashanti region wishes to serve a warning to any individual or any group of individuals who harbor any intentions of rigging or aiding the rigging agenda of their collaborators and their paymasters in the Ashanti region to have a rethink. We know the plans of such individuals and their collaborators in the New Patriotic Party and the Electoral Commission, and we have them under our surveillance 24 hours. And they will have a shock of their lives if they try. Finally, we urge the general public to actively participate in the monitoring processes at every polling station in order to protect the sanctity of the ballot. Let us be bold to defend the cause of freedom and of right. Change is coming. Nothing can stop it. The victory of the NDC is coming again. And may God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. We thank you very much for your attention.